Hello and welcome back to the You, Me, and the Scene podcast brought to you by Revival Recordings. We are on our last episode of the season. We have made it, well, not a full year because we're taking a break for the November and December holidays and then we'll be back. But, 19 episodes, guys. Congrats to us.
Woo, we did it. Pat ourselves on the back for that one, guys.
Yeah, we have kind of a lot of topics today, actually.
Revival news and revival related news. If you didn't catch it, we just signed and announced that we signed Ghost Chant. They are from New York, and they're going to be putting out new music in the new year. So you definitely have to check them out. Their most recent single was I Know Everything. So definitely go give them a listen if you haven't already.
And check out our last episode if you want to learn a little bit more about them. We had Dan and Gus on as our guests. So check out last episode 18.
So excited about them. I think their music. I think their music's really cool, and they're from my hometown. And after we recorded that episode, I realized we have way more friends in common than we had even talked about. So that's a really fun hometown full circle moment to have at my job. But
nice. And the other revival related thing, Alistana is going on their third leg of A Place Where the Sun is Silent tour. They'll be hitting the West Coast the 9th through the 19th, I believe. Yep. So if you're on the West Coast, go check them out. Go say hi to Amanda. Give her all the merch tips. And
we'll do go to her.
That's coming up. We're going up. All right, cool.
Anything else? And check out Gold Step's cover of
Taylor. The
Taylor Swift. Yep. So Blank Space, and the music video will already be out by the time this episode's out. So go check out the music video too. So I think that's all the revival stuff going on right now. It's going into holiday season, so as you know, the music industry slows down a little bit. So we're going to talk about a lot of discourse online on a lot of topics. Some controversy, our favorite things. So we can hop right into it because there's a lot. There's a lot. So Amanda, do you want to start off with doing a little rundown, because you are the pro of merch and the little discourse that's going on with merch tips.
Okay. So what happened was the drummer of Tesseract decided to open his mouth and put this written notes app apology looking post on Instagram that said something to the effect of, "It's come to our attention that people thought they were tipping the band at the merch table, and it's also come to our attention that some merch sellers make $30,000 to $50,000 per tour, or per 5-week tour, and I think they should have to share that money with the whole band and crew." Which there's a lot to unpack here in the first place.
I think
the first thing I say
would be Amanda will tell you she's not making $50,000 a year off merch.
I don't even make $50,000 a year across all 3 jobs that I have. So write that down first. But the first thing I said was, you're telling me the drummer who doesn't know what the merch looks like until he steps into the first show of the tour thinks he gets a cut of merch tips. Cool. Totally makes sense. I made a post on my own personal Facebook that said something like, I'm not going to engage on this post, but I am going to say I'm not making $30,000 per tour. And if anybody asks me where their tips are going, I tell them. And that's essentially my thoughts on it. But I had someone respond and say, actually, he was talking about contracted third-party merch sellers. And actually, I don't give a shit what he was talking about. He's still wrong.
Also, don't you usually put on your merch tip jar this is for my cat or something?
Yeah,
along those lines.
My tip jar has said everything from tips for tattoos to tips for my cat. Right now it says tips for my cat. And if you saw that and thought that your tip was going to the band, then you have some bigger problems that you should be dealing with. But after he put out this statement, he got a bunch of flack and then put out an additional statement that was like, actually, I was just saying so on, so forth, and the third, and everyone works hard and they should get their fair share. Tip the band at this link, blah, blah, blah.
So he wants to start implementing tipping the band? Is that like his new, like, that's his solution, is he wants you to then tip the band?
Right, exactly. Which, totally, if you want to tip a band and they have a way for you to do that, sure. But if you put a tip on a Square reader at a merch table that I'm at, I am getting that tip. I was going to say something else very specific. Oh, yeah. In my experience, if you're in a band that's on tour that has a full crew, you're going to show up, you're going to maybe load your gear in, you're going to sound check, and then you're going to go sit in a green room for 6 hours. In those 6 hours, I'm working. I load my shit in. I don't get a chance to sit down. I don't get a chance to eat. I barely get a chance to piss. And until you have a night like that, I'm going to keep my tips. That's all.
All I have to say is, coming from someone who worked in bars and restaurants and the food industry for a majority of her life, there are the discourse of like, how angry would someone get if they tipped a waitress and that went to the owner? That's my comparison. Why would, like, obviously your tip is go to the waitress, not the bar, like the establishment. Like, so yes, your tips are going to the merch girl or the merch boy. And
Right.
not like, my thought process as like a consumer would never have been to go to the table and thinking that's going to the band.
Hey,
Right.
if you do think that and you do ask where your money's going, I say like, hey, I get these tips. That's where like I have to pay my rent. And another point, the vast majority of the responses to what he was saying was, if you are jealous of how much your merch person is making, maybe you should sell your own merch. Which is fair.
Yeah. Yeah. So. And there are bands that do that. There are bands that sit there in between their sets at the merch table the whole time. Like smaller bands.
Right. There are a lot of, most smaller bands do that. A lot of like not so small bands do that too.
Also, for bands like large artists, like say you're going to like a freaking Beyonce concert, those merch people aren't merch people that tour with the band, right? Those are like, they're like, if I go to like one of the stadiums or something, those are workers of the stadium, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're not like, they don't travel with.
Remember. Right. Yeah. No, most like stadium tours have, it's like people who work for Live Nation or people who work for Ticketmaster. They're the ones that are selling the merch. That said, I don't really remember if like the My Chem show, if there was even an option to tip the merch person. But if there was, I'm sure I tipped him. But still, what were you going to say?
I think, side note really quick by that, I think at the Jonas Brothers concert at TD Garden where the Celtics play, I don't think there was an option to tip them. Because usually I will tip a merch person. I don't think there was. And maybe it's because they're actual like employees of the stadium.
I have a friend that is, that's what she does. And she works for Live Nation. She's like not, I mean, she does work independently as well, but she does work for Live Nation. So that's like a whole different thing. But she's doing stadium stuff and festivals, and it's just a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is also like what not Tesseract. Tesseract's not playing those things either.
So they can't compare their like, they can't make the argument that someone that they'd be working with is making $50,000.
I mean, they could. I could totally be. Maybe Tesseract is working in those situations, but even if they are, the band is paid a guarantee. Like they get a check at the end of the night, regardless of how the rest of the night goes. The person that's working for tips, like that's just a vastly different income. Maybe not income, but like, it's like you said, it's like the manager of a restaurant taking waitresses tips when they're not serving the tables.
And if I ever worked in a place like that, I would burn it to the ground. I wouldn't work in a place like that, but that's like the point.
I just wanted to make sure I said it on the podcast, and tips are never expected at the merch table, but they're very much appreciated, and they are indeed going to me, if you were wondering. So,
yeah.
So West Coast, when Alisana comes out, when West Coast, when Alisana's out there in a couple weeks, or I guess when this podcast comes out, it'll be the week of the tour starting. Make sure you tip.
Yeah.
For Luann, guys.
She's here somewhere. She's over there, but yeah, they are literally like going to Luann.
You do it for Luann. So another big issue online right now that also has to do with like venues and touring is one of my favorite activities, moshing. And how some venues
Courtney, I can't imagine
are getting
you moshing.
really strict.
I can't imagine you moshing at all. Like,
I would be trampled. I'd be like down on the ground, help! And all you see is like my hand like coming out of the crowd.
And you know what I would do, Courtney? I'd be like, she's on her own. She's on her own.
She'd be like, I told her not to do that. Sometimes you gotta learn. No, me and Haley enjoy our space in the back of the venues. So
no, me too.
Yeah, he does too. Amanda, every once in a while, throw her up and she'll crowd surf.
It depends. It depends how fat I'm feeling that day and what shoes I'm wearing. But
I feel like the shoes definitely play a key part. You can lose a lot of things crowd surfing. So
the moshing thing.
We had Amanda can probably again break it down better than I can if you want to take it over.
So
do a little rundown.
Maybe not better specifically, but I saw that We Came as Romans, I think it was, posted that they were playing at a venue that I guess had a no moshing policy. And during one of the other bands on the tour's sets, they watched a fan get violently dragged out by security. Then I guess the tour package confronted security later, and security got violent with the tour package. This was a venue in Rhode Island.
Yeah, what was it? The feet? Yeah, was it the feet? Yeah. E, do you have thoughts? You're over there.
So I have a friend who's working that tour that was like involved, and he made a statement on Facebook about it. And yes, there was a no moshing policy from what I understand and from what I'm reading, it feels like they had a conversation with security that was like, hey, there's really no way to like stop this. So like, let's come to an agreement that we're going to have a 3-stripe policy and like, go from there. And they were like, cool, whatever. And immediately there was just chaos, and they were freaking out about it, and they were dragging people out. He was saying that, they saw people out in the street that were like getting their head put on the pavement. And like, it just felt like it got really out of hand really fast. And that, again, allegedly other people that were there from what is happening on social media were saying that security was being really awful and rude and confrontational from like the start. So it just feels like, I don't know, like it's just a weird thing to have a venue that, I mean, we've all seen like the no moshing, no crowd surfing, no Warped Tour signs, but like you can't have metalcore show without movement. And so it's just kind of like inevitable. And as someone who just worked a show and had to stop a song because there was moshing, like I understand that there is like potential to get out of control, but at the same time, that doesn't feel like what was happening. It feels like the venue just had it out for people. Like it's just so weird to me.
And to get like that violent.
They were like, no moshing, but we will smash your face into the pavement. No problem. Like,
Literally.
Yeah, I didn't start seeing like strict no moshing policies until like the past year. And granted, I never saw any like security getting violent at the venues that we've played at, and most of the time security is really great. But I did see security pull a couple kids out of the crowd and kick them out, gently, verbally, which is just kind of, like you said, kind of a wild thing to do at a metalcore show. And I think a lot of these venues that have like no moshing policies also probably have a lot of shows that aren't music that typically has moshing, so they don't really know what to expect and don't really know what moshing safely looks like. So I think it's all just a big fucking mess.
I also can't vouch for this venue at all either, because even though I'm from New England, I've never been to this music hall. I don't know, Courtney, have you ever been to that one?
I've never been to that one either.
The thing about Providence too is that like their venues seem like they change a lot and the names change a lot. So I'm like, I wonder how big this venue, not that really matters in this scenario, but I'm like, how big was this venue? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And is it the kind of venue where like security is just like a group of the owner's friends or like a security team that they hired? It's kind of sounding like the first one, but you know, I also haven't been there.
It's also,
I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I don't think it's that big of a venue.
I don't think it is either. There's also this part of me that has like this New England mentality where I'm like, yeah, fights happen a lot in New England, and that's like fine. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's just like a thing, but at the same time, I'm like, this feels so different and just so like they wanted a fight. You know what I mean?
Do we know if the venue has come out with any statement or anything in response?
They haven't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've read an article that said they've been reached out to too, and they haven't said anything.
They just to point it out too, just because I just want to make sure that there's a divide. So Feet Music Hall was the one that they're saying is like unsafe to tour with, but the production team and the stagehands, they like specifically said this is not their problem. This is a venue problem. They have their own production and stagehand team. So separate the two.
So it's, yeah. And it's also that it must be at least, you know, bigger than a music hall that like Alisana would be playing if they have their own full like production.
I mean, they're playing Cat's Cradle on Saturday. So
yeah, that is kind of a wide range.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was gonna say it almost feels like a modern day Satanic Panic thing. Like, oh, this is violent music, so these people are probably violent, so we must be violent to them.
I don't know that I get that necessarily. And of course, you know, I'm obviously standing with the people that are saying that this happened, and obviously I'm not going to give the security guards any you know grace for it, but you know, I can understand where, you know, they're trying to do their job, but, you know, and it gets out of hand. And because it can, and we've all been in these situations where we've been at a concert maybe or a festival or something, and something gets out of hand. It happens more, I feel like more nowadays than it has in the past. Like, I mean, just look at like, you know, the Travis Scott stuff with when the people got trampled and those things. And now it's not the same. It's not the same. I'm just saying, it can get out of hand quickly and people don't know what to do and they panic, and these security guards could have panicked, and I'm not giving them any grace. They shouldn't have done it. Right. But I'm just saying we should like also think about that aspect of it.
That's a fair point. But also at the same time, like a security guard or someone who's working a security guard should be trained to like know that the answer to kicking someone out for moshing isn't putting their head to the pavement. Right. That's
of course. Yes. There's a line, and they've obviously crossed it if they were doing that. And I think maybe I don't know if there's something that can be done that is kind of joining together of the band side and the security or the venue side of things, where they can talk about and discuss these policies and how to best go about doing them without just fighting each other on the policy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that there is.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's an answer. That's an answer, or there is an answer. It may be just two organizations fighting each other about this policy, but something's got to change for sure about it.
Hey y'all, editing Thrill House here. Of course, after we recorded this episode, Feet Music Hall released a statement a few days later on October 27th. The venue's retelling of events, of course, does not match up with the touring party's retelling of events, and the venue has shut off comments on all their social platforms about it, so you can do the math there. The venue claims that they were well informed by their security meeting that they had with the bands, and they knew what to expect from the show, as they've had many shows like this before, and I guess security was kicking out a patron who they had given 5 warnings to, so much for that 3-strike rule. According to the touring party, this was pretty violent. Body Snatcher was on stage and they were informed of what was going on. They, quote, then decided to end their set and yelled, "Fuck security, we are done here," into the microphone as they walked off stage, further angering the crowd and directing their anger toward Feet security, placing members of our security in an unsafe position. The statement continues, members of our security and members of the touring party became involved in a heated argument. A few minutes later, Feet was advised that We Came as Romans and Amir were not going to go on stage and the show was effectively over. Blah, 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 we're deeply sorry. Blah, 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 we've put on thousands of shows and have such a great track record. Blah, 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 want to keep everyone safe. Still investigating what happened. Any info regarding this incident, send to info@feetmusic.com. Now, in the part that I cut out of this episode in editing, we realized that I had, in fact, been to this venue with Alesana before in that one-off festival that they played last year. I had no interactions with security that day, so I can't speak to any of this. But the comments on the metal injection article that was posted about it are not having this statement one bit. A lot of people saying that they've experienced aggressive security here before at this venue, that this isn't new, that they've always been a problem. A lot of people pointing out that this statement neglected to mention anything that the security supposedly did to the touring party, i.e. spitting on them and their gear. And one commenter pointed out that a veteran band like We Came as Romans isn't going to make a huge stink if someone was getting justifiably kicked out, which I tend to agree with, because why would a veteran band burn a bridge like this over nothing? Y'all can read all the statements and posts and comments about it and come to your own conclusion. Let us know if you were there or if you've ever had an experience like this at this venue or any other venue. And I think the bottom line here is just train your goddamn security in de-escalation. Shows are supposed to be fun, goddammit. Back to the episode.
The whole theme of this year is everyone needs to learn concert etiquette, period. Thank you so much.
Yes. Which we talked about in like one of the first episodes we did. So,
and like every
back.
episode since.
Yeah. Circling back. Don't be assholes. Easy as that. You know? But speaking of small venues, and then we can move on to large festivals. Because when we were young, year 2 just happened last weekend. And it didn't seem as many issues that I saw.
We should have asked Nick to be on.
Year.
He went to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we should have. But did you hear anything?
Yeah.
You sounded like you heard something. Oh, you heard bad things?
I heard mixed reviews.
Okay. Well, the wind didn't ruin it, at least this year.
So on Sunday, they had a wind warning, but that's the end of that. You know, like it was like, there's going to be 25 mile per hour winds. And then it was like, okay.
They still had it, yeah.
Right.
I feel like they had a lot of, Good Charlotte. Was it Good Charlotte brought out Lil Wayne? And then, like, they had, like, a lot of, like, little guests, like,
Gabe Saporta showed up
throughout the weekend.
With the wind advisory, do we just move it? Do we just move where it's at? Can we just move it?
I know, for next year, yeah.
Yeah, can we not have it where there's a wind advisory like that?
Because it is, like, Vegas is windy around this time of year. Like, it's not like a random thing that happened. Like, it's known. It's consistently
known
how,
right.
It's consistently how
the
weather is there at this time of year. Yeah. So it's just like,
I mean,
maybe.
When I was there in May at EDC, they shut down stages because it was so windy. So it's like, as someone who hates Vegas, I just feel like they should just change where it is.
I know, you're a Vegas hater. I love Vegas.
I couldn't go to Vegas.
There's fun things to do, Haley. That's like not, You wouldn't
It's not my
you could go
scene.
to a
It's
hotel
not my
and you wouldn't
scene.
even have to leave the hotel because there's so many things to do in each hotel.
Why would I go to that? Do that?
There's
I'm
so
going to
many
spend
activities.
thousands of dollars to go stay in a hotel for a week.
Exactly. And you're gonna have
Hey.
to stay a week to
Hey.
get like a better price.
Just
so
saying.
I heard mixed reviews.
Yeah.
I heard that getting in was kind of chaotic again. I had a friend that got there really, really, really early, and she didn't get in for like 2 hours. But I don't know if that was a minority situation or like I don't know because I didn't hear that from other people. I heard that if you had like a higher tier ticket, it was easier to get in. So I don't know if they made that better this year. I also heard that the food and vendor situation in general was really easy this year, which is a huge step up from last year since it was chaotic at best.
The food, I mean, food at all festivals are like expensive. It was so expensive and it just wasn't like enough. There was just not enough. There was a lot of alcohol tents. There was not enough of the other like
which is a problem.
You need to fill your stuff. Yeah, when you don't have anything. Which I mean, you could and I think they did it again this year. You can leave the festival and come back. So you're not stuck there for the day. So like I know at point like you know what I mean? Like you could go to the strip and grab food or run to hotels, but nobody wants to be doing
probably cheaper inside the venue than it is on the strip. So like and also the thing about Vegas right now, which I don't know if other people were aware of, is that the Formula One race is setting up. And so like there's a ton of roadblocks. There's a ton of like random bleachers. Like it's so chaotic to get down there. And so the other thing was that Ubers were apparently a mess and like just ride shares in generals and taxis. It was like impossible to get one. So you have a bunch of people at a festival for 12 hours, all leaving at once. They're shutting down the roads. The roads are already chaotic. And you have people that are like probably inebriated trying to get out. And it's like, that's something's got to change with that. I mean, that's not the festival's fault necessarily, but like, that's a Vegas problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, ever drive down the Vegas Strip? It's a problem all the time. That traffic is annoying. But yeah, I mean, at least improvements, and it wasn't, I feel like there wasn't as much talk about it though, like in general this year. But I don't know if that's just because last year it was the first year and one day got canceled, so it was like the controversy and so we got the hype, and then but it seemed like all the performances went off well and stuff. I didn't see any.
You know how like last year it was like, okay, the one day got canceled and then the Sunday happened and everyone was like, oh my God. And then that next weekend, no one heard anything about it. Like it was just like nothing. It was dead.
I forgot they had that one the next weekend.
So
yeah.
So does this year have a second weekend?
No.
Huh.
And I wonder if that must be a ticket sales thing, right? They must have had so many waitlisted last year that they did another week.
Well,
like because they only did one day the following weekend. They didn't.
Right.
Do
it could just be that maybe they did the first year right, and then they were like, well, we could make it a better weekend now that we know all of this information, and so they made it into more of a compact thing instead of spreading it out like they did last year.
I also learned that they only do press for one day. Like press goes on Saturday and you can't go on Sunday. Like it's just one day, which I found really interesting. And I wonder if that's also why we don't hear as much about Sundays, because like they don't have the same presence.
That's interesting.
Right?
I didn't know that. Or you think you would like kind of separate, like divide, like, oh, press come this day and that way. That's interesting. But even like, I mean, I saw like a lot of like influencers like going and stuff, but even then it wasn't, I think it's just because last year was the first year and it wasn't as much of a fail last year as everybody like thought it was going to be, you know, like we complained about the food and this and that, but like for a first year of a festival, like, you know, it did go pretty fine. All the performances were fine. You know, seems like they learned a little bit and changed it. So maybe it was just like not the craziness hype. So we'll have to see if year 3 is going to kick off. We'll see. I was saying to E, I was like, how many bands until they run out and they're no longer talking about when we were young? And it's on the next generation, because they pack a lot of bands in. I mean, they've already gone through most of the bands that were in the scene at that time between last year and this year. So
hypothetically, if it is the 19th and 20th of next October, prices are already at $350 now to stay at a hotel.
Probably because people are anticipating it happening,
in
right?
Vegas is just crazy in general anyway. Like, if I tried it,
and now they have that fucking sphere and
the sphere. They even it's been like 2 years now that football stadium's been up, or was it just last year? Like they put in a lot of stuff the past couple years.
Andrew just told me how much it costs to advertise on the sphere.
All I care about
is it a lot?
Is the sphere waking up every morning. I love that. I'm sorry, I hate that thing, but I love that like smiley face that plays.
Oh, let's talk about the sphere.
Cute.
We need to keep this in because yes.
I also I feel like I would get in that thing and just immediately throw up. Like
oh my god, did you see the video of U2 playing, and it's just like coming down, and I was like, I would throw up. I would
no.
Yeah. It looks like I would have a migraine and have to go to the hospital. Like I don't want to do it.
That place would give me so much anxiety. 2, I threw up after the Harry Potter ride in Universal, so there ain't no way I'm not throwing up after being in the sphere, okay? Like, I can't do, I feel like it's so, virtual reality, based, kind of, and I would be like, no.
Yeah, no.
No, I can't do it. I just
asked Andrew, and he said he believes that he had read that it was $450,000 a day to use the sphere as marketing.
Damn.
Can I make a controversy statement?
No,
I was gonna say. Yeah, okay. It's a sphere, and it's all sphere, and digital, and
right.
How much attention are people really paying to it, though?
That's a good question.
Well, they're probably paying more attention to it now because it's new, right? In a year or two, they're probably like, it's a sphere.
I guess I have to see it what it looks like in person on the rest of the strip and everything. Like, how much are you really paying attention to it?
Well, and it's also just like, if I saw a McDonald's logo on the sphere, I wouldn't go, you know what I should do? Big Mac, right? Like, that's not how I'm going to function. I'm going to be like, okay, here's another thing.
It would be cool if people started dropping music videos on the sphere.
Come to the premiere of our new video.
Shit like that.
It's just like, what the fuck is up, Denny's? Let's go.
I'm just thinking of that photo of people gathering in Times Square to watch the finale of Seinfeld.
Yep.
Seinfeld on the sphere. Seinfeld on the sphere.
That would be great. Isn't it just right now U2 playing, and there's one nature interactive movie thing?
That's what I saw.
Those are the only 2 things.
I feel
that you
it's
can go
so
right
fitting that U2 put their album on everyone's iPod, and now they're.
I was thinking the same thing. Now you're forced to look at them on the dome.
Not only that, you're also forced to watch all the videos of U2, and you're just like, God damn it, not again.
Yeah.
Everything I know of U2 is against my will.
Getting away with it.
How do they keep doing this to us? Freaking also. Funny story is me and Brandon were going to Joshua Tree once, and my dad thought I meant we were going to see U2 play Joshua Tree. So after we went, he's like, how was the show? And I'm like, what? I'm like, we went and saw some wacky ass trees. What are you talking about?
What wacky ass trees?
I did not go see U2. Nothing against U2.
Everything against U2. No, I have a lot against U2.
Just like who like they thought they were like, we're just gonna give you some free music, and the entire world was just like, no.
And then
no.
I don't know what iPod settings or iTunes settings I had, but every time I tried to take it off, it just got put back on.
Dude,
I don't know if it was like my sync setting.
No, you couldn't take it off.
You know what?
Couldn't.
Do I still have?
That was the thing.
Now I have.
That was the thing, though. They didn't allow you to do it.
Bono can catch these hands.
There must be some conspiracies about that out there. Bono can catch these hands needs to be the fucking time.
Like for me, it's like it's not. There's more people. That's more people that could catch hands than Bono.
You
I
two
don't care about Bono.
Still on my goddamn music.
Oh man.
Yeah, Songs of Innocence 2014. I'm gonna throw up.
I really gotta. I'm gonna go on Reddit after this and look at like conspiracy theories like about this. Like there has to be like crazy ones. If anybody out there knows about a crazy conspiracy theory involving U2's music on our iPhones, throw it in the comments because I want to know
thing about it. So yes,
is it? I'm gonna be.
Why
down
did
a
I
rabbit
think
hole
this
tonight.
album came out in like 2006? Like I thought this whole thing happened.
I was in college. I was like junior, senior year.
The correct one college. That I have on my phone, which I assume it is because I can't take it off.
My concept of time is like completely fucked up. I thought I was in like middle school when this happened. No, I was like well out of high school.
No, I remember we'd be hungover senior year of college, and my roommate Jackie was one of my best friends. We'd be like dying in our beds in all our separate rooms, and she'd play over the speakers in our living room, U2, so that we'd all get out of our beds and be like, what the fuck? Whatever she would want to like get us out of bed. I'm like, please turn off the fucking U2. Please.
Are they the one that were like da 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 da?
Yeah.
Or
no. Yeah. I almost said that was Coldplay. There might be a similar Coldplay song.
That's cool. That's Coldplay.
Definitely.
But those are two bands that I hate. I hate both U2 and Coldplay like equally. They do occupy the same part of my brain.
I confuse them a lot.
I used to really like a guy that liked Coldplay, and I was like, I gotta like Coldplay now. Man.
We did have one more subject to get to before we go into what we think our Spotify reps will look like.
Yes.
Haley, you had the rundown on this next one.
So we were sent an article by Kevin, our A&R person, which you've probably seen on this podcast, about some changes, potential changes to the Spotify royalty model. So I'm going to read from the article so that you know I'm actually reading from the article. It's from the article is put out on The Verge, and we will put a link to it in the bio so anybody that wants to read it can look at it. And they said, according to Music Business Worldwide, that Spotify is going to be implementing some changes in 2024, one of which is already getting some criticism. Let me pull it up right here. It says, end quote, the biggest reported change, and the one that is already garnering criticism, is the minimum threshold of annual streams for a track before it starts earning royalties. In this scenario, a track would have to earn 5 cents per month in order to be paid, or as MBW estimated, about 200 streams per year. Many indie tracks won't hit this threshold, and so the pennies those artists would otherwise earn will be diverted to Spotify's stream share pool. That may not sound like a lot of money, but one source told MBW that when multiplied over the many low-playing tracks on the streamer, it accounts for tens of millions of dollars that would instead get distributed to larger artists who'd get a bigger share of that pooled money. And they go on to say that some of the other streaming services have also tried to do this. For example, Deezer made a deal last month with Universal Music Group to pay pay out more to popular artists than independent creators in a way that is more overt than what Spotify apparently is doing. And I will say at the end of the article that, let me pull it up. It says Spotify has not yet confirmed these plans. We're always evaluating how we can best serve artists and regularly discuss with partners ways to further platform integrity. Integrity. Spotify spokesperson Chris Makowski said in a statement to Verge, "We do not have any news to share at this time," they said. So
yes. Summed up, Spotify sucks. Okay.
So it seems like just based off of what they're saying is obviously that if you're not making these certain amount of streams, you're not going to be getting paid. And that money is instead of being allocated and saved for when you do meet that threshold and then get paid out, it seems like it's going to be reallocated to a different fund that will be paid out to bigger artists because they got to pay them somehow, I guess. Yes.
Which makes no sense.
First of all, it's not like Spotify is hurting for money. They have the money to pay these bigger artists as well. I don't understand why it makes sense to even, not that they should be doing it in private, but like, why would they put this out there and then think that people would be like, yeah, cool, give the big artist my money.
That are already making money. Like, it's interesting, like how you just said, Haley, like, because they need to pay these bigger artists somehow, but these bigger artists are already garnering.
I mean, I would assume
their money on their own.
That Spotify, and obviously, they pay out per stream, and they don't pay it in full. I don't believe. I would assume that they get money, and then they keep a percentage of that money from that stream, and then pay out that stream. The rest of the right. I would assume that's correct.
So yeah. I'm just thinking, honestly, Haley, you know better than any of us would, since you work the back end of all these things.
Right.
But I just don't get, I'm trying to think of, like, obviously Spotify makes money from their subscriptions. But all of those people, you don't have ads when you pay for Spotify. So what is like, is Spotify trying to say that they're struggling for money? Is Spotify broke somehow? I don't understand.
Who knows? Maybe.
I don't know. I think that it's a confusing thing. Like, obviously Spotify and any kind of streaming service payouts have been a hot topic for a lot of bands and things like that in general. So for it to come out potentially, now granted, it hasn't been confirmed by Spotify that is in fact what they are going to be doing per that article and the statement that they made to Verge. But I would assume that if it's somehow leaked into the music sphere of the internet, then there's some validity to it, or they wouldn't be posting an article about it. Right.
Yeah, that's
and
true
Spotify
too.
would have like denied it, right? Like Spotify came out.
Well,
and was like,
they technically said they haven't made the decision yet.
They haven't made a decision, so it is in the talks at some point. Like, it is that idea came about enough for like to be out there,
right?
And like, it's like artists already aren't making a lot off streaming, so like, what the fuck? Like,
the way Spotify was already paying artists didn't make sense in the first place. So I don't know why the move backward.
Well, you think about it like in the sense of not even like, think about it in the sense of business in general, not necessarily even the music business. Like, the richer get rich, right?
Yeah.
Like there's the 1%, right? Everybody talks about it in a different context than music, but you think about it in that sense that Spotify is wanting to, this is just me rattling off the top of my head. Spotify is wanting to pay their bigger artists because they're bringing in the money, but in turn that is hurting the smaller artists. And granted, they're going to be able to do it if they want because they're the biggest streaming platform that we have.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like any of the other streaming platforms like a la Deezer are helping the situation. they're doing the exact same things, potentially more so than what even Spotify is doing. So where are these smaller artists going to go that they could get a quote unquote fair shake?
Yeah. Capitalism, baby.
Capitalism really popped off today, ladies.
Yeah, dude.
We'll see, I guess, what comes in the upcoming months.
Well, sorry. Can I also just add to this that it's so annoying that Spotify, among other streaming services, is also like increasing the price for the same exact product.
Yes.
Like how Netflix is like, we'll bring you better things. And it's like, I'm not paying $23 a month to watch, you know,
your $3 million budgeted one movie that you put out a year, Netflix. Shut up.
What's that one really popular smut thing? What is that? Bridgerton.
What?
Like, I'm not.
Oh, yeah.
Now listen, I like Bridgerton.
That's smut. Okay, Grandma.
I like Bridgerton now.
The old timey smut stuff.
I love me some smut here. It's not a common term for other people that are not on Book Talk. Is that not a thing?
No, I knew exactly what you're talking about.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to pay Spotify more for the same thing. Yeah. I mean, I will say Spotify is the most user-friendly for sure. And,
yeah,
leading into it, I love my Spotify Wrapped. I truly enjoy it. I have no desire to go to like Apple Music or like try to change where my it's just they have us in a tight spot.
I'm comfortable where I am with Spotify. Okay, don't change things up on me. Don't make me hate you, Spotify. No. I have too much going on in my life. I can't familiarize myself with a new streaming service right now. No. Okay,
I can't get it together. All these apps. I can't do this anymore.
You gotta give me a Mentee B if you change things up really on me right now. I just need my little Spotify. Also, didn't they? Which I mean, I have Spotify Premium, so I didn't look too much into it. But I think for people that don't have Spotify Premium, they took away the lyrics.
Well, their lyrics are wrong anyway.
That's not necessarily Spotify's fault.
What was I gonna say? Oh, but I will say, I saw something a little bit ago, and like I said, it was like for users that don't have premium, so I didn't really look into it because I do, so I was like, doesn't affect me. But I think like now, if you don't have premium, you can't see the lyrics, and a lot of people were having an issue with that for, just being inclusive of like, people that need that. So interesting. It's like kind of a random thing to take out. I'll have to look more into it, or if anybody knows about that, knows what I'm like talking about. Just a weird like thing to take out because it doesn't seem like, that's not losing you money. It's not like losing you money to have the lyrics on there. Like someone could just Google them. Why not just put them on there? But I'll have to look into that too. It's like just, these stupid things that they like take away, and it's just like whatever.
Especially money from small artists. So there you go.
Yeah, stop taking that away.
I love that we just complained that like how bad Spotify is, and we're about to go into what Spotify we think our Spotify Wraps are gonna look like.
But also like let us have our little things that give us a little bit of joy in this turbulent time in the world, and that is Spotify Wrapped. Okay. It's a double-edged sword around here.
I remember last year when they came out, and I think Nick posted his in our like group message and then he's like, everybody post yours. And I remember I posted mine, and he's like, what is this, Haley? Because my hours were low, and I'm like, I don't just listen to Spotify. So I'm sure that will be the same this year.
Yeah.
And also I have been listening to Andrew's Spotify as well. So
my
I'm just not mine will not be great, but it'll be fine.
There was some figure last year that said this is the amount you need to listen to in order to cost Spotify money, and I was like, challenge accepted. Challenge accepted.
Just keep it on in the background.
I mean, not
24 hours a day.
I have just kept it on in the background because I'm like, yeah. Fuck Spotify.
All right. Thrill House, start us off.
So first of all, as far as like hours go, I really only listen to music on Spotify when I'm driving. And even then, I'm probably listening to the same podcast over and over, which is almost exclusively the show with Sam and Joe, which has nothing to do with anything that we talk about on this podcast, but they are always going to be in my Spotify Wrapped because that's the only podcast that I really listen to. That doesn't count as an artist, though. I know my top 3 are likely going to be Paramore, especially because like I love This Is Why. A lot of Hot Mulligan because that record came out this year, and I literally listened to it on repeat for like a long time. Literally a long time. And usually the Wonder Years is on there. So that's, you could probably have guessed those by listening to me talk. But yeah. Maybe NSYNC is on there. Maybe NSYNC, but we'll see.
Hey. Oh, I did get Britney's new book in the mail yesterday, guys.
I'm listening to it on Audible. So.
Oh my god, is there as much shit about Justin Timberlake as they're saying online?
I don't know. I've only listened to like an hour, and honestly, so far, it's so much of her talking about like, well, this is why my parents sucked, and which is totally part of the story and fair, but I don't want to hear about your parents' lives. I want to hear about your life. I just got to the part where she's talking about getting into the Mickey Mouse Club. So
So yeah, so she's got a lot of to cover after the Mickey Mouse Club. So, you know, but yeah, I mean, it seems like there's a lot of Justin and a lot of other celeb stuff in there. So I'm excited.
My manager at my other job said, Amanda, you're not an NSYNC fan, you're a Joey Fatone fan. So I'm especially not a Justin Timberlake fan. Just to clarify. But
all right,
Courtney. Who are your 3 artists?
Well, to everyone's surprise, Taylor Swift is usually on the top of that. Is usually on the top of that list. And I mean, Eras Tour was this year, and she's dropping new music. Has an album, her new 1989 re-recording coming out in 2 days. So I'm sure I will also end the year with boosting that number of her to number 1. Side note, did everybody see the SNL from the other weekend that Pete Davidson was hosting, and Travis and Taylor came on? That's what reminded me. But if you haven't watched it, you need to go watch Pete Davidson's skit of him doing like the Barbie movie.
I'm just
so everybody go watch it. That is what has been stuck in my head. I need that song to go on Spotify. It's like
I've been
that's what I need.
not chasing, but I've been following my boyfriend around the apartment with just singing "My Name's Luann." Luann.
We should put that on Spotify.
Chloe was like, "Don't talk about me."
And then I think Pierce the Veil will be up there. I had that album on repeat when it came out, so I think that'll be up there. And then been jamming to a lot of Fleetwood Mac, which is not surprising. I do that anyways, but I feel like because Daisy Jones and the Six came out, and so I feel like I was extra this year of my Fleetwood, so I think they'll all be on there, up there somewhere. So those are my
I was
three
thinking
that
about
sure will be on there.
I was thinking about that Pierce the Veil record recently, and I really don't think, not that it's like bad or anything, but it didn't have any re-listenability for me. I don't think I listened to it a little bit like the first few days it came out, and then like never really went back to it, versus like that Paramore record. I just continuously
Go
good.
back
Maybe I think it's a lot of my other music taste has gotten a slightly more poppy. So I feel there's two extremes. It's either super poppy or like way angrier and heavier. And I think Paramore kind of feeds that like poppy side. But anyway, I digress.
Nice.
Haley.
Well, so I think that if I had to just go off of what I've been listening to recently, and I don't necessarily know that they'll be on my Spotify Wrap, because like I said, I don't always listen to Spotify, and I don't always listen to my own Spotify. But if I was going off of what I was thinking, I would probably say Bless the Fall. With the release of their new single this year, it kind of reinvigorated me listening to some of their older stuff. The second one would be Beartooth. They released a new album called The Surface, or it's an EP. No, it's an album. And so I've been listening to that recently, and it's really good. Actually, my song of the week is one of the songs on there. And then probably the Somerset would be the third. They have new music come out, but it's also one of the ones that me and Andrew jam to in the car a lot. So I would say those three would be on there for sure.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. All right, E. Tell us what
Not
it is.
inspired or surprising. No Con is definitely gonna be number one, I think, for artists, for sure. I am really interested to see what percentage of his listener population I am in, because I think it's gonna be
Top
like a
one.
0.05%. Like I think it's gonna be something really obnoxious. I think the next two are going to be really tight. I think it's going to be between Bad Omens and Sleep Token. And the only reason I say it's going to be like close is because The Death of Peace of Mind from my own streaming stuff, I know became my number one most played song. So I'm like, I wonder if that's going to affect who is my number one. But yeah, I think mine are pretty predictable this year. I don't know who's going to be number 4 and 5. That's going to be interesting. But yeah, maybe Zach Bryan.
It's interesting how we all, our range of artists that we think are going to be on there. It's kind of like our top when we did our top ones.
We'll post them when they do come out. We'll post them on our
maybe
on our socials. Haley, you just won't be embarrassed. Well, it's like Sean and Nick and like stuff will post theirs, and then half of them are like kids songs,
right?
When they show up to us, because they're like, well, the kids use their Spotify, and I'm like, well, Spotify is spoken.
That is
okay?
true. Like that is true. Like when you're on the car in a car ride and your child's in the back and they're screaming at you, you put on those kids songs to placate them, okay? And you sing and you dance and you clap. It's all of things. The whole production.
Here's hoping that Spotify got a better graphic design team for these graphics when they come out, because holy shit, were those bad last year.
Yeah. Okay. Pause.
But
I'm looking at my stats for Spotify. Noah Khan finally did it. Mm-hmm. He took over the number one spot from Millennium. Millennium has been my number one most played for four years. And Noah took over in a year. So if that tells you how much I listen to Noah Khan's music.
Did you get tickets?
Yes, I got tickets for both days at Fenway. Thank you so much for asking.
Well, you were trying to get him when we were on a meeting with Nick, so I couldn't remember. You said you got him or not.
I told Courtney, I was like, I will never ever make fun of you for the hassle that you went through with Taylor Swift, because it was a bloodbath trying to get those tickets. Like, it's just also crazy because, like, it was, I think right before the pandemic, my friend saw him in Chicago. And like he was at like a venue with like no one else, and there was just a few people there. And now he's playing sold out Madison Square Garden. I mean, that is insane growth so quick.
All right. So,
well, guys, we'll post them when they come out
In November.
And share yours with us. Yeah, and share yours with us. And on that note, we can do songs of the week. So sticking with my Spotify, I'm gonna do Silver Springs by Fleetwood Mac. Ayo.
I'll go next. My song of the week is by a band called Mannequin Pussy, which I had heard of before, but have been listening to more recently. And the song is Who You Are. And it's nice. It's a very sweet, lovey song to me. But yeah.
I think, okay, so based on like what I was saying about my Spotify Wrapped, so my song of the week is I Was Alive by Beartooth. It's the very last track on their new album. If you haven't checked it out, definitely do. It has a pretty good message to it. Andrew would say it was the best song on the album as well. So that's high praise for Andrew.
I know.
And
all right, all together. Take it home.
Take it away, E.
Last of the season.
what if I just really throw out something absolutely insane? Like, totally.
I don't think we can throw out any much more insane stuff.
No, this was pretty on brand. I was listening to a vampire mix, which was a Halloween thing that they did on Spotify. And it's called Kiss Me You Animal by Burn the Ballroom. And it's very fun and very cool. And I like the vibe a lot. And it's metalcore-y. Yeah.
Nice.
It's not Hoochie Daddy season. So, it's a little bit more.
I mean, it's a wrap on season 1, guys.
Yeah.
Woo!
Can you believe it?
We'll probably be back in January after the holiday break.
Mm-hmm.
But keep up with us on socials.
So long, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, adieu, 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 to you and you and you.
Do you know what that's from, Amanda?
Is it Sound of Music?
Yeah, very
yes. Good. I'm so proud
I was
of
in
you.
theater. We've talked about
That's
this.
true.
I was a tech.
That's true. Sorry. You just looked. I didn't know if you were like. I was like, does she know what it is?
Oh my gosh.
Okay, sorry.
That's a wrap, guys. Good job.
That's a wrap on season one.
That's a Spotify
That's
wrap.
a revival wrap.
Oh wow.
All right. Well, we will see everyone in the new year. Thank you for tuning in for 19 episodes.
Bye.
Yes.
Bye.
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 Thanks for tuning in to the You, Me, and the Scene podcast. New episodes are released every other Monday.